How's it going, everybody? Yes, I am back. Had to take the last few days off, obviously, because you guys knew the occasion. So, as we gather around everyone else here, I want to tell you guys what this show could be about. Um, just had a last minute cancellation, too, from someone. All right. So, as you can see, the title, it's about the off season workshop. What that basically means for me is I'm not giving up on the season completely. It's just the well of ideas in my head have just currently run a little bit dry. Dealing with a headache, had a couple of rough days at work, and just wanted to detox for a second. So as I go over here, get some people in there. How's it going? FC Barcelona brother, big fan of the Hawks. Nice, nice. Brian Cruz, how's it going? And the Falcons, nice. Or should you say Flackens? That brings me to my drink real quick. Uh, Drinking tea at the moment. So, Nation, how's it going? All right. So, about this off-season workshop. You know what day it is? Hopefully. I mean, they took it off of my they took a couple of things off my segments that I would normally try to have with me. um, yeah, we got Maggie in here. Shouts out to her for getting this on almost like a last minute basis for her as well. So all kind of rushing here. All right. So let's get into some of these. Some of these ideas. All right, if I can just figure out how. Da, da, da. All right, let's get a few of these off the board. If you can kind of see that for a second. Jeez, I need to write bigger. Off-season topics. I'm going to write the answers a lot bigger than this, so don't worry. I want to get you guys' opinions on what are some of the things that you would like to see us talk about. Not just me, because as you can tell, Maggie's in here. She normally watches these shows afterwards. Mike will probably chime in, maybe K Styles as well. They all pay attention to the show, anyways, even though it's just me on here. So it's like don't feel as if your opinions won't be seen just because someone like me is on here. Uh, we're gonna get to it, and we're gonna talk about it because it's something that you guys want to pay attention to, right? So there's already been a lot of discussions that have happened already about the off season, about currently, as we're facing the Bills this week. I still have the other show, so we can kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive into that when my mind will let me. But I thought we'd kind of take a look at some of the future discussions. Um, Not saying I'm giving up on the season already. I just want a head start now. You know, that way we can kind of have a little bit more preparation when it comes to our discussions, especially for me, because I want to have bigger expectations for you guys. Um, Getting into the future topics, I want to see if I can contribute a little bit more as far as like a video format, not just like a regular stream, but see if I can chime in on some other forms of content for you guys. I don't really like the word content, but for lack of a better term, I'm going to use that instead. So as we get in here, let's discuss some of the things that we want to focus on for the Falcons. Because we can have all sorts of conversations every single day, right? But at some point, we got to splash in a few new opinions in here, splash in a few new ideas, And that's what this can be about. So even if you like don't catch this live, I don't know who who watches this back. Comment if you do, in the comment section, like not in the live chat, but it's like, you know, I want to see who's catching the stuff afterwards. Um, so let's get into who's been tuning in. O-line and D-line in the draft, in my opinion. I do want to talk about the draft, right? That is something on my mind. As far as like, we've already had like our own off-season program as far as like what we could probably imagine the Falcons doing. Um, Me and Dave on a couple weeks back, we talked about like how do we feel as a fan base on a scale of 1 to 10 about the position group, and then kind of went back over there. It was only like a few weeks ago, so if you feel like checking back on that and seeing what that progress looks like from now, you can do that as well. But while we're on the topic of the draft, I do want to start digging into some of the film that I've received from certain college players. Now, I don't have like film for absolutely everybody, which is kind of unfortunate. But if you want me to try to like recommend certain players, I could probably dive in a little bit deeper and kind of like recommend certain talent from certain places. So if you're interested in trying to figure out, okay, well, where do we focus on moving forward? Maybe some possible UDFAs. It's really hard to figure that out, like who's going to be in that class, like right now. But it's just interesting to think about because we have a lot of picks, right? But I don't think we're going to be making a ton of picks. I think it's just going to be a matter of saving up and storing it for later, just kind of having like our own like savings account as far as what we can do in that regard. Free agency, maybe a veteran wide receiver at corner. I do like the idea for having veteran presence in that on that side of the spectrum. And Kale says, talk about the centers who are for free agency. That is a good idea. So that'll be the first thing on the list for me. I don't know about number one, but maybe like the first thing. I don't even know about first thing, but yeah. Centers. Can you tell I've never done graffiti? Yeah, I was kind of figuring about that. 1.8% chance of the playoffs, and that's statistically though. Right now, like we've definitely seen a good enough of a sample size as far as the teams that we can beat and the teams that we can't. I think it's just been more of like an experimentation season right now. It's like, hey, can we beat this team? No. Can we beat this team? Yeah. I don't think it's just a matter of like, okay, well, this is like the rankings of like the top. I don't really care about that, especially not right now. It's not too much of a pressing matter for us. We just got to play competitive every single game. So, and defense especially, I would kind of say that, but I'll also kind of say in the offense as well. Chris says everyone hating on Jalen Mayfield. We got to let him develop. He's still got a lot to learn. Yeah, he's bad, but it's his first year. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I would call him bad. Considering, like, all things considered, like, he was the plan C, remember that. So, yeah, he was not supposed to be a starter. He barely wasn't even supposed to be a backup. But, yeah, I do like the veteran presence there at center. People have been saying for Ben Jones, and I want to check up on him a little bit later. So maybe next show that I do with Dave on, hopefully, we can talk about that and see if he's even on the board. If not, we can possibly think about trading again with Tennessee. But yeah, I agree as far as like trying to beef up the defense with just some more talent. Uh, Rich Kelsey, howdy, howdy. Bubba Gump, 100,000 chance to make the playoffs, but hey, like KG said, anything is possible. Or yeah, yeah, he was also thinking Ben Jones, Titan center. You know that Jason Kelsey, he might retire though. Like that's his problem. We gotta like try to talk him out of retirement. I do like the veteran wide receiver idea. It's just we only have so many eggs and baskets to distribute out our wealth or lack of. Um, so that would be a point of emphasis to try to prioritize that. Not saying that we have all the answers, but it's just fun to hypothesize a little bit. Blackheart, how's it going? Says, as far as wide receivers, I feel like we can bargain shop and turn out great. Crowder and Robinson are out there. I don't know if Allen Robinson would be a bargain bin. I think he'd still want to ask for money just because of some of the stuff that he's done with with the quarterbacks that he's worked with. Pitts is commanding a double team. We just have to beat one person. Exactly. Need wide receivers that it's all in 5'10". Yeah. Continue to develop the O-line you have in patch with free agency. Draft defense class or draft defense. All right, mostly pass rush. My eyes were kind of tricking me for a second. I thought it was like, wait, did I skip over? No. A good bargain wide receiver is Auden Tate. Ooh, I know that name, right? Is he from Cincinnati? Atlanta Nation, how's it going? How do I feel about Hennessy production overall so far? Especially when we're on the topic of that. I think he's progressed the way that any third round center would. Do I see anything special out of him as far as like what we can expect, like a big jump for him? I mean, like everyone else said about other situations, anything is possible. So could we see that? I'm leaving it on the table at least. I'm not trying to disrespect the man, but at the same time, we got to hold people accountable as well. So, I do like every now and then I do like the swapping of him and Drew Dahlman. Ain't really sustainable though. So once they make a clear-cut decision on who the heck is going to be the center there, it really just kind of takes out all the dents in our offensive line. And like Mad Mike said previously, it was either yesterday or today. There was like a Q&A segment that he made about, hey, how do we fix the offensive line? And I was also kind of thinking along the lines of like, well, if you get a wide receiver that can get separation in a couple seconds and someone that, Matt can trust, him and Cordero Patterson and Kyle Pitts, like just that third option there, it spreads out the responsibilities of a defense in order to target. So when you think about it in that way, yeah, once you have your ideal guy to go to there, now, does it have to be someone like really expensive or does it have to be someone like at the very height of the draft? Not necessarily. But I think that's your best chance of getting a long-term solution for that, though. So that's what I see it as far as that. Mucho Grundy. Saying Michael Gallup would be a good fit. I like Gallup. I just don't know if he's that number one guy. I kind of see him as like a better version of Russell Gage. And even then, like, yeah, they can make some really phenomenal catches. But is that enough in order to warrant that, like, oh, hey, you are the top guy? When, like, I get his competition of having to deal with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and he's still a viable third option. But key word, he's a third option, along with Ezekiel Elliott there on that line. So I think that having that could definitely mask a couple of other problems that Michael Gallup may face or may have to deal with if he's given more, weight on the offense. And there's that aspect as well. How much is he going to ask for? Yeah, I did think about Auden Tate, remembering his name at least in Cincinnati. Has got much burn since they have loads of wide receiver. Of course they do, especially now that I'm glad I didn't have to face T Higgins in fantasy, because he would have knocked me out of the championship contention. Which for those that have paid attention at all, the very few that you are, but hey, respect. In Ryan Moody's league, in his fantasy football league, I am 13-1. If you want facts, you can check it out in the Discord. I do agree that we have to bargain bin at every position. Maybe not every. I don't want to keep us in this roster kind of purgatory. I do want to see us improve instead of having to deal with scraps every year. Trey Hill saying, "Hey, I think we should give Frank Darby at least a try, a couple of games, see how he does. Maybe in the last game, but I think that last game might mean too much for us, especially as far as I don't know about spoilers, because I don't think the Saints are doing that much great, especially when they really got to situate their quarterback position too. But this game, yeah, I don't know if you want to bring out Darby now. I think that might be too tough of a task. And the fact that he's not on the field either, I do agree with Bubba Gump there. It's it's not really good. I don't imagine a whole lot of chemistry happening right now. It's oh hey, it didn't, hey, this chemistry hasn't happened from weeks 1 through 16, but now that we're week 17, yeah, something really clicked there in that Friday practice or whatever. I don't know if it's going to be like that. It we would want it to be like that as a fan base in order to be excited about freaking someone in that position group, but it can't always happen. Fighting center up there. I would talk about Tyler Linderbaum. I have watched some film on him. That is good. Derek Britt says the Falcons should get Von Miller. I don't even know if he's thriving right now on the Rams. He might retire. He's a bit too worn down, I guess you can say. I just feel like there's better options, especially right now in the draft class where it's really heavily defensive edge focused. Tony Wright's here. How's it going? Well, we have to get prepared as best as we can, but we're going to get smoked on Sunday. Yeah, given the point differential that we have against winning teams. Oof. Like a pack of goals. All right. Yeah, we need to address the defense and the O-line. Absolutely. Just keeping it real, the Buffalo Bills are the team that I picked during training camp, and I haven't changed my selection as Buffalo will be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl 56, in my opinion. Buffalo all the way this time. Yeah. And please, 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 we do not need Devontae Adams. Not with what he would want. It's pretty. I get it, but no. No, I hear you. I hear you about Tay. Wide receiver. There's a lot of wide receivers out there. I would like to have some of the more premium guys there, but not this off season. I think when I don't know though. Well, I mean that's what this discussion's all about for. So yeah, that's a callback. He'd be another OCU Manura. He was okay in 2013 though. 2014, yeah, not so much. There we go. Still, still with the optimism there. Love to see it. I'm not saying I don't have it. I'm just saying like can't really be as prevalent. You think Keanu Neal is overrated? I've honestly stopped caring. So whatever he is in the public eye, I don't really know. Like that's just my stance. But yeah, I've completely kind of forgotten about him. At least as far as like our team. You know, like he's not a guy that I'd miss right now. I'll say that much. But if he's overrated, I don't even know what he's rated right now. So there you have that. Man, 20 minutes in, and this tea is already like slightly less than room temperature, which ain't good right now. Uh, the Bills are loaded on both sides of the ball. I don't know about loaded. I mean, every single team so far has had like some really serious COVID issues. You know, I think now would be a time more than anything in order for a team like us in order to take on a team like them. Plus, you have that to keep in mind as well. But another thing is how, but like the one thing that I would say on the side of the Bills is like they are the same record as the Patriots. I don't know if they have a tiebreaker because I'm pretty sure they split those games. So then it would go just like who else like beats them out in the rest of the division. I think the Bills have a better division record, so that's what pushes them at the number one spot in that division. But they are pretty creeping up right now, so they need some sort of a buffer. They only have 2 games to do so, and New England has their easier schedule, so it's gonna be really important for the Bills in order to try to just whoop on us. Yeah. But if we can at least make it competitive, hey, like I will take that. You know, I'm not asking for us to just like just go to ham and just beat these Bills. But at the same time, I don't want to just like give up on the team just because of the opponent that we face. You know, I wasn't like that for anyone else. You know, if anyone, I was the one that was like encouraging these other people in order to like stay convinced that we have a chance. I think maybe I should say for another year. It would definitely help us out as far as like the contract is concerned. But yeah, we gotta definitely write them out. Speaking of which, got this thing a couple of days ago. This little jersey, if you will. Putting it over the sweatshirt because it is that cold inside my own room. Also got a bobblehead too. I'm resting it on top of my PlayStation 2 in order so that it can kind of recognize the games because the lid it's like really light, so it needs some sort of pressure on it. So now I'm calling it my PlayStation mat because they both too. Okay, real question for us is: do we draft a running back for day 2? So this could either be rounds 2 with the 2 picks or round 3 with who knows how many like comp picks or something like that. I don't know about day 2. So like I want to change this up a little bit. So as we're going with that, second thing, see if I can try to make that a little bit bigger. That's better, right? If I need to make it more visible, I just have to like really thicken it up, if you will. I mean, we have to be blunt about it, Tony. You're not wrong, but you're wrong for saying it like that. Jeez. Ryan's staying until his sons are drafted. Hey, you hear that cadence though? uh, it's like I'm not gonna name the Bills players on the defensive line. Just look at these names on the defensive line for them. All right. I mean, you haven't made it up yet, but I think it's just a matter of other matchups to keep in mind with as well. Because we can talk all we want about what our offensive line could or couldn't look like this following week. But as far as Josh Allen himself, that offense lives and dies by him. You can kind of say that about most quarterbacks, but I think it's especially prevalent with him. So if we can at least let him not run as much, that might be good for us. They really like to hit the deep ball, which we've done the absolute best at when it comes to stopping that. I don't know if the stat is updated, but I think we're still like I think we still have not allowed a catch over 40 yards. So, and on top of the other thing too, like we just got our first win in our own stadium. Like we should kind of feel good about that too still, all things considered. So maybe this could be a turning point for the last, part of the seasons. There's always been that one team where the Falcons just like weren't expected to beat, but we just do so anyways, or at least look good against. Maybe this is the team because we didn't do it any other games. I'll tell you that much for sure. Because like even last year, like we played Kansas City really well, like down to the wire. The year before that, we beat a couple of teams. Back when the Saints were 7-1 and we were 1-7, we destroyed them at their own spot, and then we beat the Niners at home or in their home. So I was there to see that. Who's your personal favorite player in the draft that's in our current range? Good question. Especially because I don't think I have a favorite. Simply because I haven't done like my full scouting report, which is what I want to try to prioritize as well. And now that like the center, like the offensive line, like that's on their minds. The running back is on their minds as well. Just all of the defense is on the minds, but I'm more kind of thinking just edge rusher, which I think is going to be easier to acquire. So that being said, I don't have to worry so much about that. The corner and safety spots, those are going to be interesting and to look at, especially because of how flip-floppy they can be at their positions. I do want a long-term punter, and I've said that for a little bit, and I want us to try to draft one. It might seem like a wasted pick to you guys, but hey, when we get it right, we're going to have that punter for years to come and not have to worry about field position anymore, regardless of what our offense looks like. And that's a plus. Maybe we can get another punter just like go ham on another like punt returner like Matt Pusher did against Kenyon Bonner. Uh, Alex Edwards, how's it going? Bringing out a couple of prospects that he likes: Jamison Williams, Drake London, Ojabo. Uh, Opening up with Leal. Didn't like DeMarvin Leal get like arrested or something recently? You want names to look into? Absolutely. Like I've definitely been acquiring some because I've been listening in on conversations, but it's like as far as my own eye test, that's all I'm saying. Like I know names of prospects, but it's just like my personal favorite. That's going to be varying from what I've heard. So I just wanted to make that distinction. Um, right. So I think up until that point, like that was the only time, like that game and then the last Super Bowl, that was the only two times where Patrick Mahomes was like held down to like 10 or less points. It's the freaking 2020 Falcons that was the other team. So, hey, I've heard some really good things about Sauce Gardner. Some things about Derek Stingley as well. And having that pairing with AJ Terrell. Chagrandi says, do you think we can just work with our linebackers and majority of the secondary we already have and focus on the D-line and also possibly bring in a vet? So working with the linebackers, I do like what we have. If we were able to keep Foye, which I think is going to be a priority. Michael Walker, I already talked about him a few weeks ago. So I do like it. Dion might end up being the most expendable. Not saying I don't like him anymore. It's just you got to make sacrifices. And a sacrifice is not a sacrifice unless it's a sacrifice. So just got to think about that for a second. All right, here are the names. Long-awaited list. Jerry Hughes. Man, he's still around. Star Latulele. Yeah, definitely remember him. Ed Oliver. Mario Addison. He may not be a starter, but I think also AJ Epinesa has been there. It's like the fifth name that I know on there. Mario Addison has been like had a really weird career because I remember him being on the Panthers, of course. He just didn't really strike to me as like a really good pass rusher at that point. And then all of a sudden, it just takes a few years in order for like a pass rush in Buffalo to develop. Like I remember Lorenzo Alexander, had a long career, just like did nothing, and it was like, hey, I'm gonna be good for just like the last like 2 years of my career. All right, so okay, so he has a troubled background. There's a good chance that he might fall in the draft then. I mean, like you have that kind of like what happened with Dorian Etheridge. Jeez, I need to find a way to keep this hot. Probably had a thermos, but I really wanted to show off the mug. So, Garrett Wilson, Carson Strong. Remember him as far as a quarterback is concerned. Watch all these names y'all name, and we ain't gonna get none of them. It does happen, Sometimes they'll just have that one moment where it's like, hey, what's the weirdest name in the draft that we could possibly get? Maybe Ojabo is one of them. Hopefully. You got Riley Moss, Romeo Doubs, Wandale Robinson. Wandale Robinson is a versatile player, so as a running back. I do like those types of prospects, even though they may not fly off the radar as far as like, oh, these are the upper echelon guys. But remember, like we got to establish a theme as far as our team and our identity. So these can be like some really good names, but if they don't fit what Arthur Smith wants to do for his team in particular, as far as being versatile and being just like open ended as far as like what they can do, I don't think this team really wants to have that kind of like that one skilled guy, no matter how good the skill can be. If you can just be like well rounded at a couple of things, that could be like the main focus moving forward for this team. So, when I want to get into my film discussions, um, that's one of the things I want to keep in mind. It's like, is this someone that I would see replacing someone that we have right now, that's doing well for us, just like in the future? So it's like, could we find the next Cordero Patterson in this draft class and not have to worry about Cordero Patterson's longevity on this team? And instead, maybe do something else with a couple other backs and offensive talent that we have there too. So I do like the approach of what they want to fit as far as what we want to be. Drake Jackson, okay. Kyron Williams is a name to look out for. Jermaine Johnson, Karlaftis, Cam Thomas, edge, is a guy moving up the draft boards. Good to know. Laporta, Trey McBride. I feel like I'm doing roll call at college. Yeah, I've definitely heard that. Jeremy Ruckert. I'm just like expecting to see a here. Jake Ferguson here. Arrested for marijuana possession. Boohoo, get over it. Here. Interesting name. Devontae Wyatt. DJ Dale might go undrafted. Okay, that's the name though. I look out for. Maybe, probably not though. Okay, never mind about my opinion then. Background in rotation: AJ Epinesa, Vernon Butler. I do remember him. Harrison Phillips, Greg Rousseau. Oh, of course, they got Rousseau as well. What about Basham? He was there too, right? Maybe he's not like a D line. Not to mention they have like, I don't know if they're going to be listed. I haven't really checked the COVID names for them. Yeah, really up in the air this time around. Maybe I'll do that like before Saturday show. Yeah, like not to mention they have like Matt Milano and Jermaine Edmonds, who's just a freak. So yeah, great defense, but we've done pretty good against our own unique set of defensive matchups as well. So this doesn't completely scare me. It's just, like I said, it's an experimentation right now. It's like, hey, who are the guys that can step up and keep us competitive? If you're not one of those guys, I'm sorry, but you're playing for your job here. And if you can't perform right now, don't expect to be on a roster right now, or at least in a prominent position on a roster. I want us to have that standard. Anyways, I've been stuck on this thing for a minute. Uncle Rico to replace Josh Rosen. Actual Uncle Rico, probably not. But the best equivalent to Uncle Rico, Gardner Minshew. Absolutely. If we didn't have Pitts, I'd like Isaiah Likely. Okay. Ethan the Elk. Nice to meet you. How would you feel about Tyler Bassey in round 3 and 4, halfback from Mizzou? Okay, interesting. I'm definitely going to come back to this episode and like really get these names down, and hopefully I can have this film for them. Beatty? Okay. Yeah. I have the whole team, just everyone on the defense. Trayvon Walker pretty versatile. Hey, he's a name that I'd like to look for. I'm just kidding. Uh, number 2 defense in the NFL. Nice, 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 nice. How are they in pass defense though? Or at least in switch it around to let's focus on how are they in stopping the run. Because I don't know if it's a forgotten fact, but Matt Ryan is like undefeated when it comes across the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. Just throwing that out there. Obviously, it's a team effort for that to happen, though, but he's been there for 5 of them. Perry and Winfrey. Okay. A UCLA player. Nice. D tackle. Okay. I think we're getting there though, as far as like having a rotation there at D line. We're trying to be that. We don't have the guys for it, but I think that we definitely have the mindset of that. So they're not going to stop in the run. They might be like, what was it, like a 24th in the league as far as like yards given over expected? Aren't we like the second best run defense right now or something like that in the last couple of games? I'd say definitely take advantage of that. Now, obviously, you got to factor in that, Josh Allen is their rushing attack. So, like I said, keep him in the pocket as much as you can, force him to make a decision. And then let the coverage dictate what his decisions are and shouldn't be, instead of trying to have to focus on like individual matchups because as much as I want to say, like, yeah, AJ Terrell versus Stephon Diggs, we already know that's not really going to happen that often. It's going to happen a few times, but just not as much as we'd want. And that's what I'm like really afraid of. Because, yeah, while like McKenzie and Gabe Davis are fine, like I want to see that matchup between like him and Diggs. Even a rotating edge where we don't need a superior edge guy. Right. I think when you have that, you don't know who to focus on at least. So you just got to try to focus on everyone instead of like, all right, well, let's just target this guy out for now and then kind of deal with the rest of them. Instead, I want it to be like, okay, well, each offensive lineman will have to worry about their own respective one-on-one matchups. And then if we go even beyond that, pull some stunts, attack a certain tackle or, add some extra guys for the blitz, I would really like us to continue to do that too. Okay, Alex Edwards with the caps lock on now. We must play 2 high press man coverage against the Bills with stunts up front. I wish my dude Davidson could stay healthy. It looks good when they're on the field. Yeah, like our whole entire defensive line. I don't know what it is, but it's like they're consistently on like the injured or COVID list. And a few defenses. Okay. The Bills have 3 former first rounders and a former third rounder at their D tackle position. Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, remember back when we were like the first team with like all 11 offensive starters to have, all first rounders? Nobody cared because we like lost. Yeah, like so that just stopped being a stat that people would want to throw around. It guarantees a free rusher. Yeah. We checked the weather, like a few of us did. It's about it's like the 20 or 30% chance of snow. Obviously things can change, but the chance for snow isn't as likely as, say, somewhere randomly in Seattle. Okay, what is weather anymore now? Okay. Is that like run defense or like total defense? And cover one rat, or cover one robber, or cover one three, or a cover one thief, or cover three sky, or over quarter or quarters. Are you like going through like a Madden playbook? Uh, that's a topic I haven't really talked about either on this show. At least I haven't gotten it out. Ooh, man, I had to pause for a second about that. Kind of stopped me in my tracks. If we went out and not make the playoffs, would we pick somewhere around 2013? It's really tough. I think that we would. I think we would slide closer to the beginning of the draft than rather at the end, because there's a couple of factors that go into like the where the placements of each ones. Because knowing everyone else, like there's like so many teams that are like in the 8 and 7 or 7 or 8 kind of range right now. Like this should be like the final. Oh, this is definitely going to be the final 2 weeks of deciding like who's going to be in and who's going to be out. But as far as like the middle of the pack, it's really hard to decipher who's going to be like the worst of like the 7 win teams. I think we could slide in there if it's like based off of strength of schedule. Unfortunately, that might be good for us still down the road. It's just our pride might get hurt. Um, uh, and they have 2 former first rounders, 2 former second rounders, and a college undrafted free agent that has made 3 Pro Bowls. Not good for our offensive line. Well, what is good for our offensive line is that this might not be the scariest defensive line that we face this season. I think the scariest defensive line that we face this season, we've had to face twice. I'm more talking about Tampa Bay than Carolina. But yeah, when we click, we'll end up with a game where it's like, oh, hey, we didn't allow a single sack against the Panthers. They had a pretty ferocious line in the front. Not a whole lot of like injury histories, like Brian Burns and everything else was like they were still playing there. So, like, I think that when we just try to trust our own guys on their line instead of just like being scared about who we have to go up against, that that really kind of like improves the floor of like how sad you can be. Let's just say that. Do we keep or trade Deion Jones this offseason? And it's either going to be him or Lucan. If it's between one of the two, then I'm picking Foye. But the biggest question is becoming like, do we actually have to sacrifice Deion Jones' contract here, or can we find a way to work around it? Now we don't always have the correct tools in order to play around with all the like the actual financial numbers. It's just, for future reference, I would like to see us try to get more money as if we can. But if sacrificing his contract actually has us lose money in the process, then he's not someone that I would just like that I would have to get rid of. So it's like if I really can't keep both, then yeah, I'm taking Foye pretty easily. But okay, good to know. Thank you. Yeah. Like it was kind of wild because, like I said, I had a few rough days at work. I just got home. I don't know if you can hear the barking. I was like, I just got home. And I was like, man, all right, well, let's just try to get myself a way to detox myself, just kind of settle down for a little bit. I go on my phone. First image that I come up on Instagram with is like, oh, hey, breaking news. It's like, are you kidding me? But I think for a guy like, I don't want to say guy, for a legend and icon that he was, I don't want to be like sad that he's gone. Instead, I just want to be happy that he existed for us. And this actually gives me a great segment to think of this kind of topic that I might not have been able to go into any other way. Now that we have some people here, unfortunately, like I wanted to try to make up for everyone else that I kind of missed in last week's show because I really wasn't being able to focus on, everyone that was going to be in the chat there. But now that we have some people here, I would like to bring this to you guys' attention. It's a little thing that I like to think called when I say you think of blank. And the first topic, if you guys are ready for it, the first topic, I want to see if I can get some comments about it. When I say this, like this is the first thing that comes to my mind, no dilly-dallying, just put it out on the chat. I say John Madden. You think of what? I don't want you guys thinking. Just a quick reaction. I don't care if you guys all share the same answer. When I say John Madden, you think of what? Again, I don't know if you guys can hear the parking. All right, let's begin. Falcons Fans 408 says Madden 04. All right, so when I think of Madden, you think of the video game. The one in particular with Michael Vick on the cover. Nice. Alex Edwards says the GOAT. Yeah, I would say that because of his his best winning percentage of all time. That's definitely something to really praise for. Andrew Ebb says just a straight up legend. Bridget Kelsey with an interesting answer just says the game of football. Unless if I'm being way too philosophical and you literally just meant the game. Just the video game. Hey, I mean, that's fine too, right? Madden 99 and the Raiders. All right. Here's a few of my answers. Because I just kind of thought about on a couple of changes. Because when you hear about news like this, just floods of memories tend to come into your mind, right? The first one that came in mind for me was the word turducken. That was just the Thanksgiving tradition. Stuffing the duck into a turkey into a chicken or whatever whatever the way it was made goes. The duck is what I'm most interested in. I don't think I've had duck as a meat. I think that was just the general appeal of it too. I think there's just that one meat that you probably wouldn't be able to find as often or as prevalent everywhere. And stuff that into a tradition, and then have and have to the victor goes the spoils, I guess. Another thing, another answer. When I think of John Madden, I think of him in the booth. Him and Pat Summerall commentating. I remember watching the broadcast of Super Bowl 43 at the time when it was actually happening in live in 2008. Or that would have been February 2009. But yeah, I remember being at the gathering, just watching the game there. I just saw this in the corner of my head. Yeah, they get the tough actor to knacking. And then boom, he's on a commercial. I have no idea how that impression is going to come out. The third answer that I immediately came to mind was Frank Caliendo, the the famous impersonation guy, or what he likes to call himself as the typical C-list celebrity. Because I think that he really made it fun to just think about what he would say, knowing the things that he's already given us. Um, and of course, like you bring Frank Caliendo into the mix when referring to John Madden, and you can't help but think about Brett Favre. Uh, I think like because of that interaction, he had segments on Mad TV. Um, I went back right when I heard the news. One of the first things that I did was look up Frank Caliendo and see if he had said anything about it. I don't think he did yet, or at least not on the YouTube channel. But I just started watching like him impersonating John Madden, just because like you really got the essence of him being there in a comedic way, but he really nailed the part, you know. And it's like moments like that it leaves an impression on people, you know, for a guy like Frank Caliendo, or for just like the average person that gets to hear him in the booth or gets to play the game that bears his name. I don't know how you guys feel about the recent ones, but that makes me even more sad to know that he died when the game probably isn't really representing what he meant for to represent at this point. You know, Tony Wright. A lot of you don't know or realize how great of a head coach he was. He was hired as an assistant coach, linebackers coach by the Oakland Raiders in 1967. I think he retired 10 years later, never had a losing season. I think he averaged out about 10 wins. His final record, had like 104, 32, and 7 was his final record, highest win percentage of NFL history, given, the minimum amount of games played. And originally, had a football career too. I think he played for the Eagles, had like a knee injury or something, caused him to go into coaching instead. The little Giants cameo, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like, and his very first season as an assistant, the Raiders went to the Super Bowl for the first time. Oh yeah, I mean, no question, right? But they obviously have different roles, like I think the fair comparison would be like Pat Summerall would be better than Joe Buck, just because they were more like play-by-play announcer, like the Troy Aikman versus the John Madden, like they're the color commentators, like they're the ones that talk after the play's been made. That being said, though, absolutely, the information that you can get from a coach with that high of a regard for the sport, and always kept everything in a way that made people interested in the sport, right? Like you have all walks of life that want to pay attention to the Super Bowl every single year. You have people that don't pay attention to it, like the people that don't pay attention to like the story behind the whole season. And you have newcomers that come in. You have young people that want to tune in and watch the sport, and then you have the longtime fans that have paid attention and have, they've heard about everything, all the factual knowledge that, that they say in the booth. Like these are like, this is the, like the few crews that you wouldn't mute, but rather turn up every single game that you have a chance in order to listen to them. Him and Al Michaels was another great duo, which is why I said, like, I remember like hearing all the stuff in the booth where, as far as, the games that he's played, not realizing that the Super Bowl 43 was the last game that he has ever commentated for. But he just made it easy to understand. And once you can make the sport of football like as complicated as much as of a team and like a heavily team emphasized sport that it is, once you make something like that, all of its mechanical parts, all of its bells and whistles, and all of its strategies, right? When you make the game look simple to just look at, that's when you can get more of the appeal out of it. And I think that more people need to go back to kind of those roots because that's what grows interest in the sport. For all of the people and also for the longtime viewers, it just satisfies just hearing them because of the legends that they are. Can you tell that I'm doing this just off at the top of my head? I, for one, can't. And I'm the one that's freaking talking. But I've also had some time to think about it too. Mr. Motivator, how's it going? We were just getting through with I don't know what I want to say about getting through, but we were just finalizing our discussion about John Madden. Well, hey, since you're here, let's play the quick little game of when I say John Madden, you think of boom, and I want the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear his name. Among other things too, like we can talk about the legacy that he put into obviously like the game, the video game itself that bears his name, how he was in the studios trying to get all of his feedback and making sure that it mattered. Like that is a crucial part. Now he kind of like stepped away, in the mid 2000s, and then had to focus on other stuff. Also wrote some books. And we can't forget about mentioning his family too. Because it's not just like for all we know, like I don't think any of us like publicly knew him or like actually met him. But for those that have, all that time in his 85 years, there was never just like a doubt about his character. There was never anything bad to say about him. Very rare for that to happen in a time where everything can get leaked out at any given time. So it's like if you have some sort of dark history, now would be the time for it to like be really, really prevalent because people just got way too much time on their hands. That, and there's also just like the charisma that he carried too. Some coaches don't have that charisma in order to be like, hey, I'm going to put my face on here and make it into something great and make it into something that's probably in the homes of millions of people in the country, which would be the game, and just like have that interest grow over time, have people learn about it. You have the Ask Madden option. In the older games, you had like the football 101 where he would kind of give you a tutorial about the offensive plays and how they work and, what to look out for when executing it. Like there was a lot of information there that you can learn. And it wasn't just it was just in a game meant for kids. I don't know about for kids, but it's just like it was a game that was available for anyone to just pick up and play. So having that as a skill set to provide with the energy and just like the knowledge of the game that you have for the sport, and you got to think about like what Tony Wright said before, like he had such an interest in the sport in like the 60s and 50s. Like when that breed, when that style of sport in the era, I don't even know what the heck that sentence was, but in that era of football, it's so much different than it is right now. And yet he never felt out of tune with the game. He always understood. So it's like he's someone that was constantly studying. He was someone that was constantly learning the game as it evolved along with everything else. So there's a lot of respect that we should have for him and all of the things that he's given us, not just as a coach for the Raiders and all that, but also just as a person for the sport. It makes me think of that that moment in his Hall of Fame speech where he talked about, late at night when the lights go down and they close off the Hall of Fame, like the conversations that they have, what that the busts would have with each other. You really start to think of like, are they going to place him right next to Pat Summerall? Are they going to place him right next to like Ken Stabler or something? Are they going to place him next to Brett Favre? It's just, it's just a wonderful thought to have. You know. So I want to touch on a little bit more about this segment because I kind of just started it with only one in mind. But let's see here. Let's see here. What do I wanna bring on? By the way, thank you for your contributions. Duly noted. Cover Madden 04, cover Madden 13. Two vastly different games. But let's see here. Oh. Still typing along. I see Tony. In John Madden's second year as a head coach, he led the Raiders to the AFC Championship game in 1970, but they lost it to the eventual Super Bowl champions, the Baltimore Colts, that year. That would have been Super Bowl 5. For those counting at home. Well, wait, you said 70 though? That would have been 5. That would have been 3. I know the Colts went to that championship game against the Jets, right? Because that was like the year of the merger. Unless I'm getting my numbers wrong. Pretty sure it was Super Bowl 5. And I'm pretty sure that I don't know if that happened. I mean, who am I to go up against everything that you've said so far? I'm pretty sure that checks out. I'm just probably going a bit confused in the head. Moving on to things to talk about here. I'm trying to get onto a new discussion in my head. I don't know if it's going to happen correctly. All right, so we got a lot of names, got a lot of positions in order to focus on. Here's something else that I will add. There we go. A bit larger letters there. When I bring up video ideas, what comes to your mind? Obviously this is going to be on both Mad Mike Sports and AFN channel. And I think we kind of talked about the extra content that you can probably expect to see on the AFN channel in order to give it its own reason of having been subscribed to. So let's get some ideas stirring in the pot. I want to see what it would look like if we, because I don't know if this is going to be like new ideas, but as far as like, well, let's see. So what we got here. Okay, so it was in 1968 the Raiders lost the AFL championship game to the New York Jets. And Joe Namath and John Madden's second year as an assistant coach of the year after they lost the Super Bowl. Okay. New player reviews. If you can expand on that, that would be greatly appreciated. So it's like new players or new reviews. Because some of these ideas might also work in might also work in written form. I know some of y'all probably won't care for that, but I got to think of ways in order to make the website more enticing too. You know, I haven't made an article in a few weeks, but again, yeah. All right, new everything. Well, gotta have a starting point. So hit me with it. When I say when I say video ideas, you guys think of what? You know, I want to be able to like expand a little bit more as far as like ideas. So, especially when it's like Falcons related, you know. Whew, there we go. Introductions for new free agents and drafted players. I like that. I like that a lot. So would it be like a scouting report? Like how thorough should we be about that? Because we need to say introduction. You have to sleep. It's okay. I understand. Take your time with it. Well, maybe not take too. Maybe don't take too much time. I gotta be louder for you then. Uh, should do this tomorrow. Oh, I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. You got me. You got me right now, and you got me like Saturday. You know. You also got the next show, but the comment might get lost then. So breakdown of plays from the games. I do like that as well. I don't know how much pull we have as far as like showing actual film, but I got a whiteboard and I can feel free to map it out like I did a couple weeks ago. So that might be in the works. If I can't show the actual film because it might get like copyrighted or stricken down for something like that, other kind of problems, I I do want that. I do want to be able to teach again. I don't know if I can. I throw that in there. I can't. I keep forgetting the camera, like where it's at. Um, you're at the last name. Nice. What was your experience? Seeing as you've got to see them win this time. Last time the game that I went to, they didn't do it well as well. Realistic free agent options. So which of the four bargain bin Dollar Tree kind of players? I get that you don't want to make it so that people realize that we can't get everyone. Um, we really just gotta strive for that one guy, that one positional player. You know, but they got to be doing some other stuff. They got to be able to have their weight in other and other position groups as well. You know, I do understand that feeling. You know, uh, yeah. When I was there in 2019 against the 49ers, Tim Tebow, he is a healthy scratch off of our radar. Yeah, he is probably a better baseball player right now, and I don't even think he had a great career there either. So, but I mean, as far as like versatile guys, there's only so many that fit the bill. But I want to see if we can have first dibs on them. Now this might just be like an update for me and me alone. Never mind that topic. Let's get on to Ayers one. That's the importance of various positions on the team and Falcons legends for those positions, i.e., running back with Jamal Anderson. The importance of various positions. I do like the sound of that. Okay, so we have intros. We've got some whiteboard film. Maybe I can do that in like the article form. I might be doing like the whiteboard film in the article form. Or, maybe getting some more clips from the actual game itself, like I've been doing in a while. I want to be more focused on like what I would do. That being said, it probably won't be like an every week thing in the off season, but just know that I would have an idea in mind for that. I mean, I can obviously combine both of these ideas. With position importance, I kind of just signed it out, but you guys aren't really going to see it either. So what do I care for now about my legibility? Yeah, I think the whiteboard film, as long as a position importance, they can kind of go hand in hand with each other. That gives me a bit of a task as far as like old film, but I might be able to manage that. Maybe. What should we get in the draft? Hopefully NFL players. No, I'm just kidding. The quarterback school breakdowns do well, or well do that for other positions, of course. Yeah, if, JT O'Sullivan has done a really good job there. That being said, I don't know if I'm going to have as much pull. How is that? Reddit says, I saw a channel on YouTube, some Raiders fans, and I went in on their live channel and they were breaking down plays like literally from the game. I want to be able to get to that too. So if you could provide me with a little bit more info on what they were able to show, Okay, so I don't know how that works, but they was putting black lines and everything, breaking it down. If I can, yeah, I mean, like I said, like if I can get to the actual film itself, some of the problems that I have though is actually like recording like the video format of it. Give her the name of the channel, please do. Give them a look at myself. Because what happens is I try to do my own recording on my TV. That's what I did in like the very beginning, but for whatever reason, our platform that we were writing the articles on, they wouldn't accept the video. Like I would have the video, and then I'd also try to have the screen recording for it. If I wanted like to have like the Game Pass for my phone, which I do that. So I can try to get it in that clearer sense, but like it only accepts like the actual like camera footage that I have. So I've been trying to have them to do that for a little bit. It's a bit more difficult to tinker around with, but I'm sure I can learn about it and manage it. Um, so maybe that part of it, like the video format, might be more for actually being on here instead of like in the articles itself. Maybe I can do the whiteboard. I can put more whiteboard stuff in my articles. I'll think about that as well. We can get some people to look at it. Let's see. One thing that I want to do is have it more focused on fan interaction. Because while you guys are here now, I want to see us with more encouragement about being a Falcons fan. Because we've seen some examples of people that were like really, really giddy about, you know, wanting to do good for the fan base and doing good for the community that we've built up here. I haven't heard from some of them. I get their circumstances, but it's like you kind of put yourself on the spot. So I want you guys to deliver. So if you guys get a chance to if you guys are watching, I think you guys know who you are. You guys can, push yourselves a little bit harder. It is a bit of a task in order to try to put yourself on the camera, especially doing this live in front of an audience that, I mean, you've known, like you've grown to know. Whole different story from being right in here, unless you have like kind of presence for it. So I completely get like any sort of camera shyness that you guys might get, or that you guys might have for being on here. But I think that if you guys were to send in some videos as well, like AFN, it's Atlanta Falcons Nation. Like it's not like an Atlanta Falcons like committee board, where it's like, oh, hey, we're only selecting a few members. It's an entire nation. Like it's acceptable for everyone to hop on. Like, how do you think I got here? So consider it as a gateway in order for other people to hop in. And we've had other people join in on like the other shows as well, and that's always like a fun thing to hear. That's more interaction is what I'm looking for, because doing this for an hour and a half on yourself and only relying on chat, whew, it's a bit of a struggle. But you guys make it like really fun for me, anyways. So I always appreciate you guys in the chat, regardless of whatever you have to say. I believe Bridget might be still finding that YouTube channel. If you don't get it now, you can probably message me in the Discord. So no pressure in order to get it right away. Well, appreciate that. I mean, like I may have said this a couple times before, but I've kind of developed the presence of being in front of people, so that like public speaking, it's a big fear for a lot of people. I don't really have that much of a problem with it, so much as long as I have a reason for being up here. Like if I have like no credentials whatsoever, which I've tried my best in order to show that, hey, I might be worth talking to when it comes to Falcons football. But you got your own standard that you have to fill. Doing this in one take is really challenging at times. Try not to look as awkward as possible in front of a couple of people that are watching it live as it happens, and then versus like other people that has time in order to like come back and check it out. And like I still struggle with like listening to my own videos, especially when like I'm the only voice that you hear. That is just weird. I don't have that presence for myself yet. As much as I like the show, right? As much as I like doing this, it's just like some people have a stigma about themselves where they will make their meal or they will make a meal, like they will prepare dinner and do all that kind of stuff, but they themselves won't eat it because it's just not as satisfying. I might have that regarding my own content, which it's a bit difficult, but hey, having the live feedback right now, it keeps me in check. Makes me makes me realize that yeah, I can still have some attention an hour and a half later. So again, really appreciate you guys. I I know I don't say it enough, so especially because like everyone else, like they like Twisted Torch, Jew, Face Styles every now and then. When they're on their show by themselves, hopping on live, or like Jude, he does his own video. Um, just as an example, right? Don't want to try to leave anybody out. Big Low Country as well. They only hop on for so long. I mean, that's kind of what I've been saying. Like, guests are always welcome. Like, and you don't have to feel as if you need to be the host, because there's always going to be someone here in order to help you out, right? So, having someone else in order to bounce off ideas from, and just having that extra opinion on hand, it's always a huge help. I know a couple of like personal people that have like their own podcasts and just like go on for like 30 minutes, an hour at a time and just talk, and then like they don't have any sort of feedback about anything else that's been said regarding what they've made until it gets released. And it's like, oof, how do you guys do that? I mean, same goes for other like YouTubers and content creators. Like you guys don't hear about it until like much later on in the process. Now is the chance where it's like, hey, if you mess up something or if you use something good, it's like that reaction, whatever it may be, it's happening for you right then and there. Which I've seen more and more YouTubers start to like premiere their shows, so I can kind of get more live reactions just to see like where the attention span goes from. I don't know if that's the exact reason, but that's the reason that comes to my head when I think about it. Don't mind me. I'm just going on all sorts of rants like I do every single week. But again, like I'm only doing this because there's no one here to stop me. So, the struggle's real. But yeah, anyone is welcome. I try to keep it like as relaxed as possible, given how late it is. So I'm not gonna try to get anyone that's like really like energetic and vibrant. I mean, it's possible. Like if you are that type of person, like by all means, just like, hey, this is your starting point. It doesn't have to be like you don't have to think about, well, I'm only stopping in, or like I'm only hopping in, like I'm like week 17 show. You shouldn't have to think about it like that. Like your own starting point is when you decide to step up to the plate. You don't have to worry about like the timeline of other people and the timeline of other things happening in your own life. If you can just get it started and just get out and get yourself off the ground, you can build up yourself with an own level of expectations. And from there, you can kind of progress and kind of sharpen and fine tune your own way of building a platform for yourself or for whatever you've created. Again, can you believe I'm doing this on first take? You know what happened? My headache went away. That's what it is. I'm just gonna blame it on that. With that being said, as far as like a long show, I'm gonna try to keep it as narrow as possible right now. Really appreciate the names of the prospects. Really appreciate the ideas. Keep them coming. This isn't the only week where I would be asking this. So if you have more and you catch this a little bit later, now is as good a time as ever in order to expand. And again, like as long as it's Falcons related, it don't have to matter about like don't limit yourself as a part of like what you can imagine seeing on here. Just because it hasn't been said yet doesn't mean that I'm afraid of doing it or that anyone else on the platform is afraid of doing it. And if you want to be your own example, hop on by all means. We're welcome for that. Um, so, I mean, there you have it. There's my there's my show. uh, I already have this information down on the video itself, so you better believe I'm going to come back and get this on again, so I don't feel as bad about erasing it now. It's just going to be weird. Like at some point, it just says centers, running backs, video ideas. But you don't feel the need, or at least you shouldn't feel the need to be embarrassed about whatever kind of topic that you want us to discuss. It can be like just like straight up just football related, like maybe not like Falcons content, as long as it's related to the community that we've built. We're gonna bring up stories, any potential interviews that you might have us, that you might want to hear from us as well. Like the interview with Chris Rim, like that was a genuine surprise even for me. So all that is still on the table. So give yourself some time in order to think about it right here. Again, just because it's coming from me doesn't mean that Maggie and Mike and K Styles, all the ones that you might appreciate more, it doesn't mean that they're not listening either. So this will be in their head. This will be in their ear. You don't have to worry about it just because it's coming. That's because this idea is coming from someone like me. Any opinion that you want to have on here will matter. All right. And if you don't think it does, you better believe I'm going to make sure that it will. All right. So that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great night, great rest of your week, and go beat these Bills. At least give ourselves the chance, please. But duly noted. All right, guys, take care.